Okay, guys, how's it going today? Today we got a full jam-packed show to talk about how long we're flying, how long we intend to keep flying, and what's in the back of everyone's mind a little bit down the road is the upcoming legislation and how that will impact all of us who want to be able to keep flying as long as possible. Those of us who've been enjoying this hobby for a number of years, a number of months, or even just a number of days, all really want to know what is going to happen. And so we did a poll this week to figure out how many people intend to keep flying for the foreseeable future and how many of us say that we're going to keep flying FPV no matter what. And surprisingly, there really was a tremendous response. There was a lot of people that said that they're going to keep flying no matter what happens. So for those of us who have left the hobby and come back, let me know in the comments if you left for a number of months, weeks, years, and have come back, and what got you to come back. Papa, what's going down? RC Ritter's there. He just got a GoPro Hero 9. That's what I'm using for all of my HD footage. I really, really like that one. It's such great footage straight out of the camera. Vampire and Kazi are here. And of course, Papa Tree, what is going down? We got quite a bit of stuff to cover tonight, so we're going to let everyone roll in and go ahead and leave me in the comments how long you've been flying and how long you intend to keep flying. I'm also curious, what was the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome? What was it about FPV that was difficult, and what made it finally click? For me, what made FPV finally click was that point where, and you have a lot of these skill hurdles that you have to overcome. You have to overcome learning how to work with Betaflight. You have to learn how to work with OpenTX. Once you get everything bound and actually working, then you have to learn how to fly for more than 10 seconds at a time before you just crash out of the air, right? And so for a lot of people, that skill curve of learning how to fly is just too much. A lot of people see all the videos of everyone doing the tricks, people posting YouTube videos, professionals posting footage, and when they can't immediately get to that level, or whether they can't just stay in the air for more than a few seconds, they think something's wrong. And there's not something wrong with you guys. There's not something wrong with your quad. There's not something wrong with your radio. There's not something wrong with your settings most of the time. It's just stick time. It's just stick time, right? You have to put the proper amount of stick time. Nobody can fly acro within an hour or two. Almost nobody. And so I often liken it to like how long it takes you to learn how to drive. From the first couple of times you take the wheel as a teenager till the first few times that you're comfortable driving on the freeway by yourself. Think about how long that process took. And think about, you know, how unreasonable it is to expect that you're going to learn how to fly faster than it took you to learn how to drive. Because I would say learning how to fly is probably 2 or 3 times harder than it was to learn how to drive. So just keep that in mind. If you're still learning and you're getting frustrated, don't get frustrated. Stick with it. The answer isn't messing with all your settings. The answer isn't, you know, trying to download someone else's PIDs. The answer is stick times. Don't worry about tuning Betaflight. Worry about tuning these thumbs. That's how you're going to get it. Or if you're a pincher, tune this thing right here. You know, your wife just might thank you later for that as well. Kazi says that he's been flying for 5 years. And remember when he first started, it was as hard. It was so hard, but he kept at it. That's right. Travis says that the biggest hurdle was getting off the ground. The first attempt was so discouraging. I can totally relate. That's why, you know, building is such a hurdle on its own. Learning to fly is such a hurdle on its own. That's why I typically recommend do not build your first quad. Build like your third quad, right? I think that building and configuring Betaflight and all that stuff is such a learning curve on its own that you really want to be able to get up in the air quick with a binder fly for the first few times. You want to know what it is you're shooting for. And if you've never experienced that miracle of flight, are you really going to stick with it long enough and persevere through those crashes to stick with it? So I really think that you guys, you're going to want to not build till your third quad. And that's contrary to popular opinion, but that's the way I do it. So let's catch up with a few comments real quick, and then we'll dive into the poll discussion. Skystrider said he's been flying for about a year, making videos about a month. What made me click was in February. A friend passed away. I'm just really sorry to hear that, Strider. And it really made him dive hard into this and made me value something again. You know, I hear so many stories like that, people having hard times in their life. And, you know, it really is an escape. It is putting yourself into the clouds, the miracle of flight, even flying on your own for so long. I flew on my own for the first year and a half, and I just happened to stumble upon some other FPV pilots. And if you haven't joined your local community, whether you're a freestyler, whether you're a racer, whether you just go to a meetup and have a fun fly, I really encourage, because the community is so supportive of each other, whether it's helping you get up in the air, helping you fix, helping you troubleshoot, or just having somebody to share this stuff with, because your mom or your brother or your wife or whoever is tired of hearing you talk about drones. All right. Small said he's been flying for 2 years and he's about to take his Part 107 exam. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Kazi said he was learning acro with a whoop and that got it used to it. Yeah, I definitely agree. Whoops are a really, really great place to start when you're learning how to fly. And of course, the simulators that are here today, Liftoff and Velocidrone in particular, were not really a resource when I started flying, like in 2016, but those really can help you get some of those crashes out of the way. I think we're all due for at least 500 crashes when we're learning how to fly. And so if you can make 400 of those happen virtually, you'll save yourself a lot of time, a lot of smoke, and a lot of time on the bench. So be sure and get that sim time. Vampire says it's just like anything, you have to practice. That's right, stick time. Papa Tree has been going roughly 8 months, but been flying the DJI drones for the last 2 years. Well, welcome to FPV. You know, I think that there's going to be a lot more pilots like you, Papa Tree, coming to the community very soon. A lot of people that started off with DJI and move over to FPV. And now this new product category, the new DJI FPV drone, is another bridge product that's going to bridge that community and get us all up in the air together. A lot of people are going to be finding FPV after getting a taste from that FPV drone, because while that FPV drone is very nice, it's a great way to share FPV because it's so easy to do. It's really just going to give a lot of people a taste for a real quad like these behind me right here. Kazi says that he has to stay passionate and keep at it, and he has spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars on this hobby. Wow. Man, I want to know what you're flying, Kazi. He probably has nothing but the best. Travis says he picked up driving way faster. Well, hey, man. Maybe some people are just talented drivers. A lot of people are saying, Sim, Carbon Cage is here. What's going on, man? Me drone is here. And Travis says, are you slimming down? Yes, I've been doing keto since August. Me and my wife have been doing it. I'm down almost 50 pounds now. So it's crazy. Like, you couldn't really tell because I hadn't shaved in a long time. I finally trimmed my beard a little bit. So yeah, craziness. That is an expensive taste. Yeah, you know, a lot of people complain about how expensive FPV is. And it isn't the cheapest hobby, but it's almost the cheapest hobby I've ever had. It's far cheaper than modding cars. It's far cheaper than competitive IDPA like pistol shooting. It's far cheaper than videography. So while I do kind of combine my video creating, writing, creative passions into FPV, the gear that I use is relatively inexpensive compared to like what I would need if I wanted to go shoot indie films. So yes, you know, and those of us who have been car guys in the past, I used to go to the track down the quarter mile with my supercharged SI back in the day. You know, I have had plenty of Nismo Infinities and Acuras and all that stuff for many, many years. I had an APR chipped 1.8 turbo Jetta for a while. It was pretty dope. And you know, my whole hobby in FPV costs about the same as a nice set of forged wheels and tires. So you know, it's all relative. If you're a car guy, FPV is so cheap. And a lot of times when people come and see us at the races, they're checking it out. I hand them a field monitor so that they can spectate. After I ask them, what do they think? They're like, whoa, it sounds pretty cool. How much is it? And usually my response is, if I don't want to get into too much details, is it's cheaper than car racing. At least that's what I always tell my wife. And it is true. It's so much cheaper than car racing. Let's see. Small says it's also cheaper than having a hunting lease. I've never hunted anything before, unless you count that Buck Hunter game at Chuck E. Cheese. But I can only imagine. Travis says it's cheaper than boating. Yeah, I mean, I heard that, you know, if you have a boat hobby, it just stands for break out another 1,000. You're always repairing those things. I can't imagine, you know, when we have an ESC going out, you might have a walk of shame to go pick up your quad. I can't imagine having a failure and being stuck out in the ocean somewhere or out on a lake. Like, how crazy would that be, guys? Travis Stevens says that Quad Mover is probably the king. Is he? The guy with the 8 prop thing? I was thinking of trying that. I wonder if that's, you know, kind of cool. Dji says that he has an Ender V2 on the way. Thanks for the review. You've helped us out finding a lot of gems in the hobby. Man, yeah, thanks for letting me know that. You know, 3D printing is a great hobby that's sort of connected to FPV. You know, I really, back in 2017, I was paying a lot for 3D printed parts for antenna mounts, camera mounts, arm guards, and I dreamt of the day when I was proficient in 3D printing where I could just print all my own stuff and design my own stuff. And now that day is finally here, and it's just awesome. You get a new quad in, you don't have a mount for it. You spend, you know, 30 minutes in Fusion 360, and then boom, you have it. You put it on, you go fly it. I've done that with the Shocker Light. I've done that with so many of these little quads back here, and it's really nice to be able to all of a sudden get some arm guards or some action cameras on there. Travis Stevens says that 3D heli-plane pilots are impressive too. Yeah, those guys, those things are like one and done. I mean, they don't have the robustness of crash resistance like a lot of the carbon fiber FPV drones have. So, I mean, absolutely. Line of sight, the RC addict is a G. He really is. Okay, so let's get to the topic at hand. Let's go ahead and discuss the poll results. So this week we put out in the poll, how much longer do you think you will be in FPV? Now, at the back of everyone's mind, I didn't mention it in the poll specifically, but in the back of all of our minds is that 3-year countdown to where we're all going to have to be under 250 grams. And there are a lot of special companies that are working to get down to that weight. You know, FPV Cycle's doing it. Umagod's doing it. Armatan, Catalyst Machine Works are all putting out ultralight options to get closer and closer to that 250 gram weight. I personally haven't found anything that's super fun to fly under 300 grams, but we're all headed in the right direction, and that's what's important. So let's go ahead and take a look at the poll. How long do you anticipate flying in FPV? So the first option was you're quitting now or you've already quit, and only 1% stated that option. So that's good to know. Most of us are all still here. The next one is people that anticipate having to quit in the next year or so. 3% of you guys responded that right there. The next option is at least 2 to 3 years left in the hobby. 9% of you guys answered here. And then lastly, we have 3 to 5 years, 3%, or until I have kids. So a lot of us are family people and we still fly. So I was glad to see that was not a high number. And then 84%, the overwhelming majority, said that they're going to be flying FPV for life. So great job, guys. 429 of you guys voted in that as of earlier today when I took this screenshot. So great job doing the voting in this. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? And what is it about the hobby that would make you quit if you did have to quit? Would it be regulation? Would it be the cost? Would it be finally being able to get a hold of a PlayStation 5? You know, what would make you leave the hobby if you did leave? Put that down in the comments for us right now. I personally don't see myself leaving anytime soon. And it's very strange for me because I'm sort of a collector of hobbies. Over the years, I would kind of drift from hobby to hobby, whether it was filmmaking, whether it was painting figures, whether it was writing, whether it was, you know, like there's so many hobbies that I've had over the years. Some of them would last as short as 3 months. Some would last a couple of years. But I've never been in something that lasted as long as FPV has. I'm going on my 5th year now. And it's just such a joy. And there's so many facets to it. That's what I like, is there's the component to the hobby that's learning, that's teaching, that's making videos like this, that's racing, that's flying for fun, that's getting awesome footage, that's playing in the simulator, that's trying all different types of quads, that's perfecting the craft. There's the hobby of collecting, and I feel like collecting is really a necessary ingredient for getting me and keeping me engaged. There's always something new out on the market, and that's what really excites me. I love being able to try the latest motors, the latest frame, the latest props, and I love how cheap it is. You know, I used to get excited for having a $3,000 camera. Now I can get excited for a $50 camera. You know what I mean? It's just like, yes, it's not cheap and it definitely adds up over time. Make no mistake. But you can truly have that joy of always getting the latest stuff for a relatively inexpensive price. Or you can be the kind of person that just flies the same gear over and over and over again and just becomes a master pilot. I feel like I really do sacrifice some of my skills by trying so many different things all the time. I feel like the person that flies the same setup for 2-3 years in a row is probably going to be the better pilot. But I love my gear whoring, guys. I love trying everything new. I love trying to get the best. Now, I have put a limit on like just constantly swapping out gear, and I don't do it, especially on the racing side. I only change my racing setups about once a year now because you got to keep it consistent. You got to have that muscle memory. And so that's why I do all my experimentation on the freestyle side, on the micro side, and that really keeps me engaged. Always something fresh, always something new to try out. Let's catch up in the comments real quick. Joe K is here. He said they just fried their latest flight controller. Oh, man. Yeah. So talking about the regulation, Travis makes a good point. He says he couldn't imagine enforcers walking around with scales trying to see if you're really at 250 grams. And that's true. The enforcement of this, like, is there really going to be law enforcement out roaming around trying to weigh your drone to see if it's overweight? Like, if you're not causing trouble, it's probably going to be fine. But then again, like, I don't want to have anyone to have the excuse to come up and say I'm doing something wrong. I would really hope that the regulation ends up changing just a little bit to encompass a greater portion of the hobby. Race Day Quads does have that lawsuit right now with the FAA. So will they be able to affect change by that and come up with, kind of a greater compromise? And it's not as bad as we initially feared, but it's still kind of bad. Like, most of the crafts up here would not be flyable under the new regulation that is going to be in effect in under 3 years. So let's catch up some more on the comments. RC Brita says FPV for life. That's right. Tinker Tweak says forever. That's right. That's how long he's going to be flying. That's how long I'm going to be flying. Madrone says, I'll fly until my thumbs give out. I have noticed before, like, if I'm playing an awful lot of video games, I do start to get some pain in my thumbs, but FPV never does that. I don't know why. Jeff says that he's retired, so I guess until I die. Sunglass emoji. Yeah, that's gangster, man, for sure. Alabama 05 says that he's invested. Regulations would have to pry my TX out of my cold dead hand, says Tinker. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. And technically, people might argue that, like, technically skateboarders are not allowed to skateboard at half of the places where they skateboard. And as long as they're being respectful and not bothering people, do people typically bother them? Not really. Not really, but sometimes they are in the way. And so I think what we can all do in the meantime is just be conscious of where the people are around you. Don't bother people. Always be a good ambassador of FPV. If I'm out flying at a park or something, and all of a sudden a family comes and they want to have a picnic, I'm going to move. I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, they want to have a picnic. I don't want to be the annoying drone guy. If I'm far enough from them that I can fly, and I'm not flying a super giant craft that's going to be loud and to where they can't even hold a conversation, then okay. But I'm not going to bother them. And, like, people get to understand, like, we don't want that perception of us to be like how skateboarders were in the 90s. I think it's a lot more accepted now. Cities are building up skate parks. We have a pretty big one in downtown Houston here. And so, over the years, that community has gotten a lot better perception to the public. And we got to be able to do the same thing with FPV from day one. So always be respectful. And let's just give everybody be a good ambassador of FPV. Keep those field monitors with you, so if people do come up, you can show them what it's about. Give them a ride along. It goes a long way from people walking away saying, man, those annoying guys, to, man, that was really cool, and they showed me this and answered a lot of my questions. So that's one way we can all help change the public perception, because it's not about spying in people's windows. Like, there's no way I could fly any FPV drone and see through anyone's window. I could barely see their house as it is if you're flying fast. Flybry says that went all in last year, has 5 unfinished quads on the bench, and we moved, so now I need to dive back in. but it doesn't hurt that he's living a half mile from the House Mountain RC Club, home of Heads Up. Ooh, that's cool, man. Yeah, you definitely got to go fly with Heads Up. Yeah, I mean, imagine how much you could learn flying with the champ. That is really cool. Alabama says, what size motor are you flying? For racing, I'm typically flying a 2207. My favorite racing motor right now is the RCN Power 2207 Plus, an 1850 kV. Now, I am going to try a build. I just built up a racing build. Let me grab it right here. This is my latest racing build. I still have to program it. I haven't even flown it yet. This is the Open Racer. I'm going to be doing a review on this very soon. And I'm actually using the Dji Drone Flow motors on here. These are actually 2306.5, 1850 kV. I'm expecting them to perform pretty similar to the 2207 Plus that I'm used to. Maybe a little bit more low end, but I have flown these on freestyle and they're very powerful and very good. They're like half of the price than compared to the current motor I've been racing with the last year. So I just want to try a set of these out on the race course. They do really well at freestyle, but for racing, I want to know, can I get away with a cheaper motor? Because smacking up those $26 motors, especially at the night spot, if you've ever watched my race vlogs, Monday nights we race on concrete, and that can do quite the toll. So yeah, this is what I'm going to try out next. Something cheap. Okay, let's catch up on some of these comments. Someone who flies the same setup for 2 years will get bored. Yeah, you know, I can agree with that. Like, I would get bored personally, but you know, some people just like doing that. Some people like to buy all components when it's cheap, and they buy a lot of them, and they just fly it until they're all done. So I've seen people like El Profe, if you've seen him in my videos, Miguel, he would pick a motor and buy like 40 of them and just keep flying for like 2 years until they were all dead, and then he would switch to something else. So, you know, let's quickly go over the poll one more time. How long are you guys gonna be staying in FPV? And 84% of you guys said that you're not leaving FPV no matter what. I like those odds. I like those odds. Right on, all you guys. RC Bird is thinking of new combos of components, but if there is a 700-gram quad in someone's house, Alabama says there ain't no popo catching him. Cozy says they don't come where I fly now, and I don't see them coming in the future to enforce the weight. Yeah, you know, if like that's the thing. Like, we fly where there's not anybody, so it's like people that complain like, oh, people keep walking up to me and bothering me while I'm in the goggles. Well, if there's that many people walking up to you, you may not be flying in the best place. Like, don't go to a dog park where there's 50 people everywhere. And just like set up your 5-inch, you start ripping around. Like, no, don't do that. Hobby Grade says he's down for life. He's got lipo juice in his blood. Quentin Clugston says it is better not to go away. I just got some of my gear. Yeah, for sure. David Spivey says he's going for life. Alabama FPV says he's got a rat quad with 3 different motors. Hey, that's okay. As long as you're still up in the air, that's all good. You know, whenever I show up to the night spot, you should see the state of some of my quads. They're just totally banged up, you know. So okay. Here is the quad I've been racing. This is also an open racer. Look at this. The brace is literally electrical taped because it started to delaminate. The ends of these arms are just torn to shreds. Look at it. It's just barely holding together. And like, so when I race these things, when I fly these things, I fly them hard. It's not uncommon to see racers flying with 3 different motors. I typically have spares, but if I ran out of spares, I'd throw another motor on there if I had to. This is now going to become my backup racing quad now that I've built up a new one. But yeah, I mean, you go with what you have. I'd rather, and just like I'm going to go to work, even if I don't have 2 matching socks, I'm going to go fly my quad, even if I don't have 4 matching motors. That's just how it is, boys. Who cares if your motors match as long as your quad still flies? Now, is it going to fly better if they all do match? Probably so. Probably so. But, hey, you can't have everything. Even the Mona Lisa's falling apart, guys. Hobby Gray says he agrees with Tannen. What did Tannen say? Oh, Tannen said, I thought it was cool when I saw it the first time too, but just getting an FPV and learning about all this regulation stuff, I'm going to lean towards good ambassadorship. Yeah, absolutely. A field monitor is such a cheap and inexpensive way to get people involved. I always keep 2 with me. And like I said, when we were out racing a couple weeks ago, we had a group of like 5 little guys come up and watch us for like almost an hour. They were probably all about 9, 10 years old. And they were just kind of talking to themselves like, oh, man, it looks so cool. And so me being able to go over there, hand them 2 monitors on 2 different channels so they could watch 2 different pilots racing around on the course, really get them into the racing action and participate as an actual spectator. I hope I had them going away with a good perception of what they saw. And we all took the time to kind of, answer any questions they had, let them check out a quad. So always do that, whether it's young or old, let everybody get in on the action. Mr. Spat says that law enforcement has better things to do than mess with us. Yeah, I mean, I agree for the most part. Like, as long as you ain't bothering anybody, they're probably not going to come bother you, for the most part. Tanit says he rides motorcycles and so many people are jealous that you can split lanes in California, which is awesome. But that legislation doesn't happen if people constantly see us as thugs with drones. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, we got to give a good perception. And so there has been some good drone stuff in the news lately. The bowling video where the guy got hired to work on Guardians of the Galaxy, like, that was a really good way to highlight just how cool flying drones was. And that guy was flying a Cinewhoop just like the Squirt V2 that I reviewed. It's yesterday's video. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. Yeah, Vampire says epoxy, bro. Yeah, that's the best way to keep a lot of your carbon going long after it's a little bit dead is throw some epoxy on it. That's absolutely right. So Alabama says you can get 8 smooth motors for $100. That's right. The newbie drone motors are really one of the best bang for your buck deals in the hobby. So if you want to click one of those links in the description and go check those out at Newbie Drone, feel free to do so. Anybody, Hobby Grade says that I just had a whoop, but people will flip out seeing even those indoors so they can accuse someone of voyeurism. I mean, maybe if you're like in a hotel and flying it around, but yeah, like I never went gorilla whooping at like the mall or something, but I do really enjoy watching Zorro and Bot Grinder do that kind of stuff. Tannen was talking about the whoop flying at IKEA and Target. Yeah, that's Zorro and Bot Grinder. They love doing that. They can get away with it, I guess. Hobby Grade says just give them less of a chance to attack this hobby, the better. That's right. Common Hobby Grade. Well, I can only talk for Australia, but we're going to be easy going. We won't bother anybody. We'll fly tiny whoops committing on the train. People love it. Oh, that is a cool thing, man. Like, I can imagine how people bored on the train could be entertained by a little whoop action as long as you don't knock them in the face. Yeah, that's cool, man. I like that, Carbon Cage. Vampire says that it was because of the easy to buy and fly Dji Fpv. FPV was not the cause of the regulations. Yeah, I agree with that. Greg Carr says that Is that HD? If so, what's frame? Yes, these are both DJI racing quads. This is the Open Racer. You can get the files on Thingiverse. My buddy Lamone designed this. It's one of the two best frames for racing in HD. The Caddx Vista is actually mounted to the pod right here. And so the other great frame that you can actually buy off the shelf to race DJI with is, here's one of the pods. This is the pod to the America HD. So you got an America frame, get the HD pod. The Vista unit actually sits in the pod. I like both of these solutions because the Vista mounts to the pod, so you don't have to have a 4-layer tall stack in order to race in HD. That's really important because you're going to be crashing hard and you don't want all that force on your stack whenever you crash. So Sikio Droner says that we used to wipe a thin layer of crazy glue on the edge of our pan car chassis. Does anyone do this with their quad? You know, I actually have seen people do that, put super glue around screws to hold them onto the motors. I've seen people do that around the edges of carbon, and especially if your carbon starts to split. I don't know if you could see this arm right here in the corner, but this arm is really splitting right there. So epoxy would probably work a little bit better. Just put a little epoxy in between the layers that are starting to fray and clamp it down, let it dry, and it's almost good as new. You can really extend the life of your carbon by doing that. And if in a pinch, if you don't have a spare arm and you crack an arm, you can do that too. It's probably not going to be quite as good as new, but you'll be able to fly in most cases. Alabama says it's all cool until you land in some woman's hair. Yeah, like that's my main concern about gorilla whooping. I would not want to do that to any of the ladies in my life that have curly hair, because it would be a bad day for me if I did that. Steel uses carbon powder and glue. Yeah, if you can get your hands on carbon powder, I mean, heck, even better. But a lot of folks, especially in the racing community, usually just use epoxy. That's kind of the go-to for a lot of those guys. So what do you guys think? Now, I purposefully in the poll included an option that said 3 to 5 years. That was for anybody that had on the brain that we are under that 3-year countdown for the legislation kicking in. And nobody really voted there. So we're not concerned about the legislation on a whole. Nobody's thinking that's going to make them stop, which is good. So all we got to do is hope for the best in regards to the race day quad suit that is out right now. They've officially filed the suit against the FAA. We're very hopeful that they are successful in affecting change, coming to a greater compromise that would allow us to fly things over 250. Now, if for whatever reason that's unsuccessful, I am fairly confident in the current trend of things getting more and more popular under 250. Here is one of those Armatan prototypes that I reviewed very recently. I helped work on Armatan with this project. So this is their answer to getting under 250. This formula can get under 250 with like a 650 milliamp 4S. So is it as fun as a full-size Marmot with 6S? I mean, not quite, okay? But it's headed in the right direction. As motors get better, as batteries get better, as the DJI equipment gets smaller and lighter, hopefully, we'll be able to hit that 250 gram limit. I'm pretty confident in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years, hopefully. And now that we have camera options like this Insta360 Go 2 right here, this is really, really good footage. Better than I could have ever imagined at this size. And it's only, what, 22 grams? So we're almost to the point. If we can get a quad that is 230 grams, you could even run an HD camera and still be under 250 grams. So the future is looking okay. You have to realize, like, think about how much weight savings, how much lighter setups we run today compared to 2018. So if that trend continues, I mean, we'll be right in line with being able to have some rather spirited flying equipment by the time we get to the 250 cutoff date. If there isn't something that can be done by that lawsuit that's going on. So I think that I can say that pretty confidently that for those of us who are afraid that FPV is going to disappear as we know it, I think that whoops are getting better, micros are getting better, ultralight 5 inches are getting better. We're not at 250 today. I'll admit that we're not. We're somewhere closer to having something that can fly very, very well around 300 to 320 grams. But 3 years' time, that's a lot of time, guys. That's a lot of time. We can shrink down a lot more in that time. Small says that I understand that we'll have to have a remote idea if we're over 250. Is that really going to be so bad? You know, maybe it's not. Tonotomoto says that 3 inch is the future. You know, I really like those 3 and 4 inch options these days more and more. And the ultralight stuff, wow. You know, that shocker light 4 inch that I built up the other day, I ran it with the Insta360 Go 2, and that was super, super fun. Again, with this and the battery I was running, it was probably closer to 350 grams. Okay. But it's headed in the right direction. Matt Reeves says he's been trying to buy a quad for over a month and everything is sold out. Man, Matt, it's a tough time to be joining the hobby. It really is a tough time to be joining the hobby because there is a global chip shortage that is affecting many, many industries, FPV being one of them. And it's so hard to get components made. We are out of stock on Vistas. We're out of stock on, hopefully, flight controllers might be going out of stock very soon. It's tough times. It's desperate times. I'm down to my last couple of DJI units. I have one Ishin Micro left, which is kind of a garbage camera anyway. And then I have one Vista unopened in the box. After that, what am I going to do? I have 4 Nebula Pros ordered that are on the way. Who knows when they're going to get here? So I might be in tough times pretty soon myself. Mike says he's not going to comply. Not nobody is going to make him stop flying FPV. No how. Lawrence says to have patience to max. Order what you can. Yes, just order it as it comes in stock. If you've been looking for some DJI Air units, there is a link below to Get FPV. Go check them out. They had some about 2 hours ago. And so if you need one, as soon as the stream is over, go try to get one from Get FPV. We may not see any more pop up in stock until who knows when. So if you need a DJI Air unit, go buy one. I actually have 3 quads that are totally complete except for air units right now. They're all plug and play. I wouldn't even have to solder. I would just plug it in, but I can't get any. So maybe I should go order some too. But I already ordered 4 Nebula Pros. What am I supposed to do, guys? I don't know. Yeah, Matt says that he's been looking at the Nazgul 5 HD to use with the DJI V2 goggles, and he's looked into the ProTech 35 HD and the Baby Hawk 2. Even the battery chargers are sold out. Yeah, man, it's tough times, but keep going. Where did you find Nebula Pros? Vampire, I ordered 2 Nebula Pros from Bangers, and who knows how long that's gonna take. Um, a few Nebula Pros did go in stock at Good Venture Drones last night, and I ordered a couple. I don't know if there's any left. If there is, maybe try to get some, but stay tuned to the FPV sales alerts group. I'll be dropping stock as they come in stock in real time to help you guys be able to get your DJI goggles, your DJI units, your Nebula Pros, your Vistas, if they ever even come back. I don't even know if they're coming back. Hopefully they are. Matt says that he's been in the sim for a while and using the DJI FPV drone whenever weather permits. That's the best way. Just keep practicing on that simulator. And that way, like I said earlier, everybody's due for about 500 crashes when you start flying FPV. But if you do enough simulator, you can get a lot of those crashes done virtually. That'll save you time and money. So get good on the sticks in the sim. Mr. Spat says that the FPV Marketplace is also a good place. Yeah, there are people selling some quads. So, yeah, for sure. Dog is here. I've learned at the FPV hobby you almost never get everything in stock at once. Buy as you can. Of course, try to aim for that $50 free shipping. Yes, that is true. That's why you should all be in the FPV Sales Alerts Facebook group. I shop and I buy a lot when things are on sale. I started that group just because I was curious if anybody wanted to shop the same way I do. I'm constantly just scouring for deals. And I thought maybe there'd be 50 people in there and we would just be trading coupons. And it's just exceeded all my expectations. We're almost at 6,000 members in there. It's crazy. It's such a good time. Kazi, thank you for the $5 super chat, man. TheDroneSaver.com, USATechHelp.com, drone repair is where he goes. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, DroneSaver.com and USATechHelp.com/drone repair. Okay, I've never heard of that one. Vampire says he doesn't need one right away. He has 4 in quads. Lawrence says that he puts stuff in a wish list trying to get up to $50 mark for free shipping. I'm so bad about that free shipping thing, guys. I mean, sometimes I'll need like a $10 part. Does anybody else do this? You need a $10 part and you end up spending $100 because you don't want to spend $4 for shipping. So you sit there for 6 hours trying to figure out what else do I need? What else can I add to this order so that I can get my free shipping? Because if I spend $4 on shipping, that's $4 that I could have spent on a stack. I might need a stack at some point, right? I mean, does anybody else do that? Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah, I miss those constant sale posts you used to make. Yeah, man, I still make them in the FPV sales alerts, so go check that group out. Mike says he's got quads to sell. If anybody needs a quad, maybe he's got some. And yeah, I do appreciate the fact that a couple of the shops have lowered their threshold for free shipping down to $50. That I really like that a lot. That's a set of motors, right? I can order a set of motors, get free shipping, but there are still a couple of shops that make you spend $100 for that free shipping. And I can't resist. I always got to keep adding to the cart till that shipping is free. So when in doubt, my go-to parts to order if I need an extra $50 or something is I'll just order one of those J Himku 20x20 all-in-one 35 amp pro versions because those can go in a 3-inch or 4-inch and ultralight 5-inch, and I use those quite a bit. I think I might build a center whoop with that to try to get the weight really, really low. So I did order a set of motors. I still haven't finished the Apex 4-inch, but I ordered a set of motors this weekend to go with that. I'm going to be trying the Chief 2005 motors, and I wanted to get that free shipping over at Get FPV, so I went ahead and added the Dji Fpv board so I could get that $100 and get that free shipping. I put that $4 that I would have spent on shipping towards that Dji Fpv board, and we're going to get another build up going. Mike Bergen says he likes to get that overnight shipping 2-day, no matter what it is. See, like I'm the opposite. I normally only order like when I don't need something. And so I can wait for the shipping. That's why, but you know, like I shop at Banggood. Sometimes if the sale's good enough, I don't mind shopping at Banggood, right? But you got to wait. So you got to have stock in your own personal stash, and you're just replacing your spares. So like I mentioned, I do have 4 Nebula Pros on the way from 2 different shops, but I didn't really care about how long it took to arrive because I ordered them before I was completely out of DJI units. I have 2 left, and if I have to, I can start taking apart quads and stealing Vistas and Nebula Pros out of them. That's what I had to do with those 3 DJI quads that I have built up that no longer have air units. I had to start stealing air units to get more builds going. Because you just can't get them, guys. You just can't get them. Yeah, Smalls, got to have that free shipping. That's right. Tinker says, that reminds me, I got to order some motors so I can build a 5-inch to bang with. Yeah, man. What is S-Bang? I don't know. Oh, I thought that was a typo. Is that a thing? What's S-Bang? Is it Sabang? Sabang? Spang? Spang like Spang? I don't know. Are you liking the 360 Go 2? Yeah, man. I really, really like the 360 Go 2 quite a bit. Quite a bit, guys. I did not keep the original 360 Go. It just didn't work. Like the size was perfect, but the quality just wasn't quite there. This, they really improved it. They improved the record time, so now you can record for much longer. The stabilization is a little bit better. It has the little thing where it can attach to your shirt like this, so you can have it on you as a walk-around backup B camera. And so it just really fulfills a lot of my needs. A lot of times, if I'm going to walk around and just grab a couple of quick clips, I'd reach for this over my GoPro Hero 9. Now, the Hero 9 does have better footage, you know, but for a lot of these indoor quads, like that 2-inch iFlight C85 I reviewed the other day, like this was perfect for it. It's very, very usable footage. And what I didn't like about the original version was the footage was pretty nice, but it wasn't like that much better than the DJI DVR. And this is that much better. So like it's a must-have if you can afford it. Now, if I only could have one, I would only have the GoPro Hero 9, but the channel's doing well. I need 2 cameras. I need to be able to have HD recording to be able to show you guys for both the small category and the full-size category. So that's why I would prefer this to a naked GoPro, because I feel like this could take more of a crash. A naked GoPro is going to get better footage, but the lack of convenience and having to manage to power it separately and having to worry about how delicate it is, to me, this is a better solution for the majority of us. Unless I'm a camera professional and I'm selling that footage, this is totally good for me. Chet Max says that he got those cheap motors for the 250 build. Yeah, man, I can't wait to get them in. I'm really looking forward to that. Emax Eco 2 motors, people's thoughts. You know, there are a couple of guys racing at the night spot with these. Joe Mama, if you remember him from the race vlog, where me and him went head to head, he ended up beating me that day when I lost the motor that went with this quad. he's running the Emax Eco 2s right now for racing. And so I may try that if these flows don't work out for me. Sabang, says Tinker Tweet. Somebody's going to clip that for a boomer reel. What's a boomer reel? Sabang is a type of flying that tries to make you vomit while watching it. Ooh, that sounds interesting. The next episode, what the hell is sabang? Yeah, what I thought that was a typo, but I keep seeing people type that now. I don't know what that is. Market Zero just says that he finished the Micro Apex 3, the R349. Wait, what? Conversion, it's a lot better in every way. I may try the 4-inch arms when I smash it and rebuild it. Yeah, like I went with the 4-inch. I really like a lot of these new motor options. They're a little bit bigger. I feel like they can take and swing a 4-inch prop a little bit easier. So let's wrap it up, guys. I'm going to answer a couple of more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up till next week. If you're watching this after it was recorded, thanks for sticking around till the end. And leave me a comment below what you think next week's topic should be. I'm going to start taking topic suggestions from the community as we all dive in, collect more data. Polls every Saturday are going to be the subject of the Tuesday streams. Streams are always Tuesdays, 7:30 Central Standard Time. And let's finish it up with some of these comments. Lawrence says he likes the Eco 2s. He has the 6S 1700 and 1900. Yeah, I am curious. I may try a set of those 1900s. Tinker Tweak says it depends on what the pilot is sabanging. Some flow better than others. What is that? Some of them make you want to vomit. Okay. It's sabang is doing juicy freestyles with a lot of yaw spins over a field. Over a field. What's fun about that? It ain't fun unless you're racing on concrete. Field is for babies. That's for your maiden flight, guys. No. If you're going to do some hard flying, you got to do it with a little risk involved. So Vampire says that it's has some emphasis on low to the ground. Tinker's going to drop some sabang links in my Discord. Okay, I'll check it out. I have a perfect sabang video, says Mike from Tom Smith, his last video. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I mean, how do you pronounce that? A lot of people say I pronounce Vista the wrong way, but it's obviously Vista. Vista is like the Latin Spanish pronunciation. Anybody that says Vista, I mean, come on. It's clearly the Cadex Vista. But how do you pronounce sabang? Sabang? Like, do you actually say the S? Do you say S-bang? I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. Rick says, sorry, I came in at the end. Been busy with his 250 frame, getting some testing done. That's nice. Did you guys catch the latest Rotor Riot video where they had the Z-Tag electronic laser tag system? Well, the Houston crew has a set of these. We're working on trying to get some adapters made to fly on the frame that we fly most. I'm hoping that somebody can make a mount to go on the Open Racer. A lot of us have Freedom Spec 3S batteries. I have a couple. I think that would slow these race quads down just enough to be able to try this laser tag system. I'm also probably going to try it on a Squirt because that's what the Rotor Riot guys were trying it on. So the laser tag system review is coming up very soon. I'm a little bit miffed that Rotor Riot beat us to the punch, but what are you going to do? I mean, they got Nurk over there. I mean, you know, having Nurk is basically like having a Hulk. You know, the Avengers have a Hulk. Rotor Riot's got a Nurk. I mean, what are you going to do, guys? What are you going to do? S-bang. It's one word. Okay, thanks, Chomper. S-bang. S-bang is automatopoeia. Okay, so it's like S-bang. Like what? Dude, that was gnarly. Okay. Vista. Some links to the Open Racer. Okay, I'll put a link after this, probably later tonight or tomorrow, of the Open Racer. There's nowhere you can actually buy the Open Racer. You have to actually get the files cut, because Ivan, my buddy who designed it, he wants it to be open source, so nobody's selling it. So I had all these parts cut. You can see there's different arm variations. This is like kind of a classic arm, and this is like a floss style with a little bit more motor protection. I don't know if you could see the arm ends there. So yeah, this is I mean, it's super robust. It's kind of an evolution of a campfire quads frame, if you ever saw that years ago. There'll be a little bit more background on how this came about in the full review that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. So thank you guys. Dog is Dog, does anyone have a link to the Discord server, or is it a Patreon thing? It's kind of a Patreon thing, but we'll let you in, Dog is Dog. We're trying to get the Patreon going, but it's not super exclusive. People can come in there. Thank you guys for all joining. This has been a really good episode. I love how much all of you guys were commenting. This is a really cool discussion. I look forward to these live streams like every week now, because I really didn't know if I could speak live to the camera, but because I'm really not the most outgoing person in real life. But you guys have made it so easy. I just look forward to coming and interacting with all of you guys. It's such a treat. So thank you guys for driving the questions. It's those questions that make me think of the next thing, and it just comes out so naturally. So I really appreciate all you guys. Thank you guys for coming to the Johnny 5 live stream show, the show where John is always right, and if you agree with him, you might be right too. Thanks, guys.